Whoa. Where do you start after that last minute, whatever that was, at Goodison, after Everton's last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison was snatched away from Liverpool by late, controversial elation for Everton, but deflation for Liverpool. And I've got to admit, I think to balance this whole thing out, the result is a fair one. Everton actually created, I felt, a lot more of the clear-cut chances against Liverpool, and Liverpool had a lot more of the, what I would describe as meaningful or sort of controlling possession, but never really had absolute control of the game in the way that they wanted to. And Everton were allowed a bit of a run of this one. I can't say that I want to lean into conspiracy theories about Michael Oliver. I can't say that I want to lean into conspiracy theories about red cards, yellow cards, any of these kind of things. I think in a game like this, the referee has to be willing to let a couple of bits go. It's a slippery slope towards whether you give reds and yellows and what you give yellows for and what you give reds after that. But I think on the balance, Liverpool didn't create enough. I would say there have been a few times this season, though, where I felt that the referee has given a few more even just marginal fouls to the opposition and been quite strict on the way that Liverpool play. And maybe that's down to season after season after season of Liverpool pressing under Klopp and, a record where Liverpool effectively appear to be quite a fouling team because of the amount of pressing that they do and the intensity that they play at, and referees have been told to look out for that. That spills over. Even after saying that, I still think that Everton deserved a result out of this game. The way that they played Liverpool, like I said, the way that David Moyes shut Liverpool's passing lanes down, the way that they plugged the midfield, the way that we knew that someone like Beto would be tricky up front, his movement, his technical skills, all of the things that we called in that preview came true in the game. And effectively, they actually took quite a few of the more quality Liverpool players, and let's make no bones about it here, that was the best starting lineup that Liverpool could have started tonight. Maybe outside of swapping Diaz for Jota, the midfield was our strongest. I think the back line outside of Trent was probably our strongest. And you could see, you could definitely see there was Liverpool looked like they expected to win the game, should we put it that way? And the way they were playing early on, up until the point where Beto basically ran through the middle, and observations from Everton, first of all, credit to them. Again, great way to beat Liverpool, if you are going to beat them, is make these observations, hit them when they're least expecting it, and then leave them reeling afterwards. The Virgil van Dijk applause to get the team going again was very evident. The frustration, I guess, on my part comes from the fact that very rarely do I feel that Liverpool do get the rub of the green in these games. I'll get round to the later stuff. By the way, Curtis Jones is a G for doing what he did to Doucouré. I think the reason that there are so many red cards and yellow cards and everything given out was because clearly, after the ruling last week, or the potential ruling of not being able to go over and incite opposition fans, that was clear incitement towards Liverpool fans. Weirdly, Arne Slot then gets, I think, a red card as well. Curtis Jones also weirdly gets a red card. I'm not quite sure. For the attack on Doucouré, I guess pushing him from behind or whatever. I'm not sure that Doucouré looked particularly hurt by the whole thing. Darwin Núñez didn't get sent off for that. There was then a touchline fracas between, Coleman and Robertson. People all over the pitch just sort of having a go, a couple of the backroom staff having a go. Clearly, Liverpool were incensed by what was happening, and probably rightly so. I think if we'd seen this by Everton, we'd have been equally angry. But if we'd have seen this from City, Arsenal, anyone else, it would have been a media frenzy. And from anyone else on the outside, expecting the next couple of days to hear that Liverpool have lost their heads, to hear that their title is in the balance now, despite the fact that even though they've drawn the game, there is a 7-point gap, equal on games, with Arsenal. And that's a sizable but bridgeable gap between the two teams. Liverpool clearly are running into that part of the season where oppositions have worked out elements of their play and they get frustrated very easily. I can't say that it happened against Plymouth because that was just a complete system change. But I can say that it happened against Everton. And multiple times Everton were found to be the more physical side, to be the team that was better at easing Liverpool off the ball. First those 50-50s. I've got to admit, there are a couple of times where McAllister was making those tackles and clearly the referee has fallen for what I consider to be a dive. At least 3 times tonight, his foot has gone within millimetres, possibly centimetres, of the opposition player. And granted, if I'm the referee, I'm still calling that. I'm still saying I think that's foul because it appears to be a foul in the moment. But outside of that, I still think that Everton got the rub of the green. That's not to say that that should be enough to give the field tilt towards Everton to that degree. Sure, it levels the playing field to an extent, but I don't think it does it to such a degree that Liverpool need to be losing or effectively drawing this game, dropping 2 points in this fashion. There were times they blunted Salah tonight. A lot of people asking whether Salah was even off the pitch at different times. Great assist, great goal, but outside of that and the other shot that he got from the Jota pass, there was very little threat, and you say it felt fairly unintense in that back line. They cut him off a lot of the time. When they didn't, and that's great, and that's very much the benefit of Salah. But part of playing Liverpool is the intensity, the game of attrition, and the lack of control meant there wasn't that attrition that we needed to wear Everton down, to grind them to the point where, you know, we would have been in a much more advantageous position. Midfield-wise, I actually really appreciated the energy of McAllister, the energy of Szoboszlai, the control of Gravenberch. There were a couple of times where he was found out of position, or a couple of times where it looked a little bit awkward. Who was meant to deal with that player in that specific area being Beto in between those two lines? Was it him? Was it that back line? That, I think, definitely took away from some of Liverpool's organisation, and very often you could see that Everton had got such a clear game plan, went out there and did really well in enacting it. Again, great briefing, drag Liverpool down, drag Liverpool into that. It's the pluses of the Premier League, it's the pluses of the overall product and the look and the brand of what we play in. You've got to expect these kind of games. Not that I won't expect it. I would imagine Everton will roll over for Arsenal, roll over for City, roll over for anyone else who's still got to visit Goodison Park. But that's beyond the point, right? At this point, Liverpool need to be more forceful than that. And I think that's the reality here. We can be outraged post-game. We can be outraged in the last game at Goodison that, of course, we wanted to impose one on our neighbours, both on 41-41 at Goodison, both feeling like there is something to prove, both having something to lose this season, Liverpool the title, Everton a stake in the Premier League, and David Moyes has done a really good job of putting order in this team and turning them around after picking up from the manager who needed to put order in that team and turn them around. And they clearly had a mission. It clearly matters to these guys. And tonight, again, I said it in the preview, I'm not 100% sure that Liverpool understood the mission in the way that they needed to. This is a team that in recent years has taken a lot of points off the team. If you're going to keep the consistency of the side, keep some of the character in there, then you have to keep some of those memories as well. And I know that we'll have wanted to move on from the past. I know that we'll have wanted to play with calm heads. I know that we'll have wanted to recover. Those games can still come, but we said this would be a difficult, awkward period for Liverpool, and I don't think that you can lose your head after basically the first game of that awkward period where things don't exactly go your way. So again, I implore Liverpool fans, do not react online to Arsenal baiting, to City baiting, to Manchester United baiting. This is still very much a title race because it has always been a title race, but we always knew that playing Everton, we always knew that having a game in hand is not the same as having a derby in hand, if that makes sense. So those are two very different things. And counting on there being a massive gap to the end of the season and winning it, storming to the finish, is not always the way that you're going to be able to win the league. McAllister with a great header. Again, we said it in the preview, that is a great way. Ghosting in, getting in between Tarkowski and the other central centre-back, and not standing there battling them, but finding the space, getting into it. Salah found it beautifully. Equalising header. Great work, by the way, tonight from McAllister. I thought McAllister, for me, was Liverpool's man of the match. He was everywhere. He made it awkward for them. He was one of the people who understood what Liverpool's assignment was, understood the intensity levels that we needed, understood everything else that goes along with that. I think that was really important. Szoboszlai equally with some silky touches. Diaz, I think, tonight was again stuck in that kind of middle ground of, is it possible for me to play deeper, but is it also possible for me to play as a striker type? Gakpo and Salah both stuck out on the wing, both looking quite isolated, both of them having to come inside, but not getting as much pleasure or joy from the inside, should we say. And that negated a lot of what Liverpool wanted to do. The outball continuously wasn't there. The big men at the back kept sweeping it up and putting it back downfield. And ultimately, Everton managed to turn the game, I thought. They thought they did a really good job of that. And the crowd, what it is about Liverpool and that city of putting together incredible stadiums, I don't know what it is. But that crowd buoyed Everton almost to that 2-2 draw. We've had this kind of thing in the past. Liverpool have been through these kind of periods before. It's critical now that we as a fan base and they as a team pull on that experience. Yes, that was a deflating, disappointing loss, but equally, Everton played really well this evening. They certainly played up. They certainly played it like the game that it was, rather than us being able to just keep everyone down a little bit, should we put it that way. I do feel a little bit deflated about the way that the referee performed this evening. I've got to admit, I was disappointed. Red cards for Decore and Jones afterwards. Nothing on Arne Slot, but maybe that wouldn't just come through on the app. I've got to admit, guys, and I want to get into it now later in the video, because I know there'll be a lot of Liverpool fans who'll be watching now. There won't be other fans, and so I don't want to get into that argument because other fans just come in just to troll and say stupid things. That's a foul on Konate. It's not offside, clearly. It was not ruled offside. But it's a definite foul on Konate. Konate is a header machine. Konate is a guy who gets up, wins the ball, and it's out. And if he feels an arm on his back, he's still going up for the ball. But this time he's pushed out of the way, blatantly taken off his axis, comes down, and it is just the most blatant foul that I've seen in such a long time. Yes, VAR watched it, but I think that the referees tonight have bottled that. They bottled making a big decision after it was onside because, and ultimately this is the awkward aspect, right? I think that they should have called that as a foul, but they couldn't, because I think these referees have got this conspiracy theory in their mind. They got this idea that, oh, people think that we want to hand Liverpool the title, blah, 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 and they cannot give borderline decisions. Ultimately, one that if it wasn't at that point in the game, and if he hadn't put it in the back of the net, probably would have been called. And I don't quite understand that. This idea, and again, I'll completely discount what TNT was saying on it, because they were just blatantly going for the drama, and I get it, you've got to play into both sides' strengths and everything else, but it was so blatantly a foul on Ibrahim Konate. I cannot stress to you enough how that is just so blatantly a foul. He's pushed in the back, he's off his axis, goes down, clearly would have won the header ahead of anyone else. He towers over everyone else who's crouching down. It's just so blatant to me. But maybe, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the one who doesn't understand. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I think it's now people paranoid that everyone thinks that there is a conspiracy theory, and that so they cannot make decisions which play into the idea of there being a conspiracy theory. Guess what? If that happens, that means that Arsenal fans have won. Arsenal fans have won with the way that they want games refereed. Not because they get their games refereed better, but because the pressure that's been put on the PGMOL, which they've obviously invited themselves, but also the media and everyone else London-based who doesn't want to see Liverpool win, who does want to see, you know, a revival, because there's a load of media, Arsenal media guys out there at the moment anyway. They blatantly put a lot of pressure on the refs, and the referees are buckled under that pressure. I get that there is that conspiracy theory against Arsenal fans, and I understand that. I don't think this is conspiracy. I think this is weakness. I think in any other country, we would laugh at that kind of thing. But in this one, it's a great strike, and Liverpool walk away angry. Slot, I like this element, and I think we can kind of either skew this or frame this as a positive. Tonight, we saw some more passion from Slot. And when you see that passion, when you see the human side of him, I love it. I think it's a really great managerial trait. I think it's a really great thing to see in your manager as a fan, that they care as much as you do, that they get as invested the same in it or in a similar manner to the way that you do. I think that's really important. I really want to know what your comments are in the comments below. I'll be on Mark Goldbridge's podcast tomorrow. There'll be another review video here. Overall, I think Everton actually leveled the playing field really well tonight, and I'm disappointed in that late result, but ultimately we have to grin and bear it at this point. There is a title out there to be won right now, and dwelling on a, frankly, whimsical away performance against Everton, which we knew was always going to be one of those gimmies in the league, I think is frustrating, but ultimately we have to move on. Suck it up. Get in the Liverpool groups, lick your wounds, share your frustration, but whatever you do, don't get into a media or a social media argument with anyone out there. I could make a video tonight saying Liverpool robbed. I might make that the title. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll chat to you tomorrow when there is a little bit more light and a little bit more clarity on everything that's happened through the last 20 minutes of the game, etc., etc. Credit to Everton. Great way to end Goodison Park. Great way to move on. Frustrating for us as a team, especially considering the history and recent history we have with them. See you guys in a little while. Much love. Bye.